I was wondering if you can tell me here's a situation. A lot of the players I know, the players I play with, they're not part of the online team. Some of them are very avid players. They buy all the books, but they don't go online. They don't read the Insider blog. They don't go on forums. How are these players being reached? Are they targeted by the Insider, or are they completely different demographic?
To some extent, we rely on the fact that there's probably one person in that group who is that person, who is getting a subscription to DDI, and those other players are going to see that player or the DMs printing out those characters with the cards all printed out, and sooner or later they're going to be like, I'd like to try that. I mean, the tools in and of themselves and the content in and of themselves are our best marketing tool to get those players in. And if even one other player is at the table with it, it's going to either draw them in or not. I mean, it may never draw some people in, but at least it's going to be out there for them to see it.
We also are experimenting with Insider exclusives like the Revenant race or the Assassin class to get people saying, oh wait, that's the kind of content I can get. Maybe I should try this out, right? Even if it's just for a month. I feel like if you see Insider for a month and you're not hooked, right, that there's some weird going on, right? Because just being able to read all the compendium content, read all the back issues, it's an amazing value. Right? So if we can just keep putting out those hooks and say, look what you can get, We've got the Dragon Annual that is coming out this month that we got on sale here. That says, look, these are the kinds of articles that you can be reading every month at Dragon. We've got a special handout that we're giving to folks here for subscribing or re-upping that includes a playable assassin as well as a short adventure from dungeons. Again, look at the kind of content you can get. Ultimately, the content and the tools win people. Right? When they see what they can be getting, that's the strongest. We can tell you how cool it is, but once you see it for yourself, start playing around with the builders, the eyes sort of light up with, oh, I understand what I can do with this now and how this frees me. It's from such a bird's eye view.
I have players as well who were like, they were never those people. And now at least two of them in the last 2 months now have suddenly picked up DDI subscriptions, and they're loving it. They go home, they play around, they make up characters. They were never those people. They're still not on the forums, but they're DDI subscribers.
The first 10 or 15 minutes of almost every one of my games are guys cutting apart their new power cards and sticking the sleeves to play.
I think you had a couple of questions, Nick.
It seems like the Striker class has evolved, the Striker role has evolved a lot in 4.8. I was just wondering where you see the other roles progressing.
Can you elaborate on the sorts of evolutions you've seen in the Striker?
Well, it seems with the Avenger and the Monk, the Striker is going towards a more mobility instead of just pure damage.
Certainly mobility is always something we wanted to be a part of the Striker. Both the Rogue and the Ranger classes and the Warlock as well have a fair amount of mobility flavor in them. The Monk certainly heightens that, right? Because he's always been among the most mobile of the classes in D&D. So I think it's more like a dial that we turn up and down. There can be some Strikers that are a little more mobile, some that maybe are a little less. It depends on your build too, right? Some Avengers are more about, hey, you guys come to me versus I chase after you. It's definitely true that we've been experimenting with different ways to do striker damage. Sometimes it's just here's some extra dice. Sometimes it's roll extra attack rolls or flurry of blows or what have you.
And the fact is, every time we come out with a new player's handbook, we're always going to be looking to push the envelope on whatever the particular rules we have, right? So every time you come out with a new class, you're going to see some evolution. I don't know exactly what that evolution is going to be. We may or may not have something in mind for a particular class or rolling forward, but we're always going to try to do something different. For instance, the controller role we came out with the Scion using PowerPoint, right? That was definitely an evolution of the controller. And we're always going to try and continue to make people go, oh, hadn't thought of that before. And use Andy's words for this. And just every time we come up with a book, we expect some evolution or some rules to make you interested in playing that new class.
It inspires us as designers and developers and editors to know that we can keep pushing the boundaries and saying, I wonder if this is another way of accomplishing the basic fundamental things that this world needs to. Right? We know that controllers need to be able to influence large groups of people, usually on the other side of the battlefield. One way of doing that is a big area damage blast, but another way is summoning some creature or effect over there to fight for them, right? Mechanically and story-wise, those feel very different. But you pull back far enough, they're doing exactly the same thing. They're controlling the battlefield over there. And that's ultimately what that guy needs to do. They're just doing it in different flavors.
And what lessons did you learn from 4E that you plan to carry forward into 5E?
I look back, there are places where I think we were afraid to make changes to rules or the game system for fear of backlash that in hindsight we probably could have done. I'm trying to think of a good example. Every now and then in my game I'll be like, really? We let that stick around in? Things were like opportunity attacks. I'm still not entirely convinced that the game needs the level of complexity that we gave. We made them much simpler than they were in 3rd edition, but if I were to look at it again from scratch, I'd want to look really hard at that rule set and say, what is this doing for us? Do we need that? And is there a better way to get that effect?
It seems like the ability scores fall into that camp too. How you have to,
It's something we certainly wrestled with during the right. Is this a crucial enough part of the Dungeons and Dragons identity? My strength is 18, and that means I'm stronger than this guy with 17, as opposed to, well, my strength is 4, and I add that number to all my strength rolls. Those are the sorts of things that I think I'm glad I'm probably not going to be the guy making that call. I've worked on an edition and a half of Player's Handbooks now. I think my time's pretty much done. The next one I'm going to be watching somebody else do, and I think that's probably for the best.
Yeah, so like Andy was saying, we've tried to make all these simplifications, and every so often a simplification maybe didn't come through. Like maybe, for instance, the jump skill. Maybe that wasn't the simplicity that 4th edition is promising. Maybe if we had it to do over, maybe the jump skill, from my point of view, might be easier.
It's also true. Sorry. It's also true that we're trying to treat this game as a little more of a living game than 3rd edition was, to avoid the need for big edition or half edition shifts. We're going to explore, are there better ways of presenting information in a power write-up, in a monster stat block? If a rule just really isn't working well, we're willing to go in there and tinker with it and make it work right, rather than saying, well, it's okay, we're going to wait 6 or 7 years and then we'll publish a new edition and fix it. We'd like this game to last for as long as possible, and in some cases that'll mean going in under the hood and tinkering maybe a little bit more than we would have in previous editions.
I think we have some capability of doing that, the fact that so much of our game is slowly migrating to databases which are patchable.
It's not, I don't want to scare anybody, it's not like we're getting ready to rewrite the combat chapter every few months or anything like that. We don't want to make those sorts of changes, but we recognize that when the time is appropriate and the need is great enough, we want to make sure that we feel empowered to do that. Say, look, this is what's best for the game. It might be a small learning curve or bump to get over, but in the long run, everyone's much, much happier with it.